Welcome to Cooking with Ivory. Today we're going to have a good time preparing a meal that I like to call Southern Mexican Fusion. This meal is perfect for Taco Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, 4th of July, whenever you want to eat. We're going to start with our baby back ribs. That's going to be the first thing that we cook. We're going to cook these ribs in a crock pot just because I love crock pot ribs because they just fall off the bone. These are all the ingredients that you're going to need. I've included the list of ingredients in the description as well. With your ribs, you want to make sure that you cut those bones up, and you also want to make sure that they're patted dry. I went ahead and combined all my seasonings together to create my little special rub that I'm going to use. With my seasoning, I am not shy at all. I'm going to make sure that all my meat is very well covered. I'm going to flip it over, lift it up, do everything that I got to do to cover every square inch of meat on that bone. Once I get everything all seasoned up, I'm also going to go ahead and get my stove turned on to like maybe a medium high, because after these ribs get seasoned, you're going to brown them before you transfer them to the crock pot. When you add in your olive oil to the skillet, you just really want to use enough to coat the pan. Once that oil gets heated up, that's when you're going to add your fresh garlic. I always use fresh garlic just because I love garlic. Like, for the most part, I'm going to use garlic and onions on almost everything that I cook if I can. Once that garlic get the simmering and stuff and you can smell the aroma coming off, you're going to place your ribs inside that skillet. Try to use a big skillet if you have the eye to accommodate that, just so you can fit all your ribs in there at one time and you won't have to do like different batches. That might make it a little harder than it necessarily has to be. So like I said, you just want to go in there and brown that meat. You want to get it brown on all sides, but you don't want to cook it too long, just because this is not the process of cooking your meat. This is just like the first step. So you don't want to cook it too long in the skillet, because you want to do the majority of your cooking inside the crock pot. Flip that meat around, like I said, because you want to brown it on all of the sides. I probably shouldn't be using my hand, but I was like trying to get everything done. So here he is. You want to get your crock pot turned on low. You can cook it on high. It'll cook for a shorter period of time. But I prefer to cook my meat slow and long versus fast and hot. Once you get that crock pot turned on, you're going to transfer your meat from the skillet to the crock pot. Right now, there's nothing in the crock pot other than the meat, but it's not going to burn or stick or anything like that. It's going to be okay because we'll be adding a little sauce to it soon. Even if not, you can always like stick meat in the crock pot to cook it, and you don't need no water, and it's not going to burn your crock pot as long as it's on low. Anyway, so you want to get your stove, make sure your stove is still heated. You want to add some of that fresh garlic to the mix that's already in the skillet. After you get that fresh garlic added into the mix, you're going to add some more olive oil, and you're just going to let that simmer some, because this is what we're going to use to create the sauce that's going to cook the ribs. Yeah, get that going, get it simmering and stuff. While that olive oil and garlic is simmering, you're going to go ahead and do the sauce that you need for your ribs. So you're going to have half a cup of soy sauce, and you're going to go ahead and get that poured in your bowl. After your soy sauce, that's when you're going to use the honey. So for my honey, I kind of ran out of honey too quick, so it's going to take, like, it doesn't look like I'm using a whole lot of honey, but really I do use like half a cup of honey, just because I want it kind of sticky and a little sweet or whatever. So after your honey, you want to use your barbecue sauce. For the barbecue sauce, you want that to be your most overpowering flavor. So for that, I use 3/4 cup of barbecue sauce. You can use more or less should you choose. That's completely up to you. You want to get all that sauce nice whipped together, get it stirred together real good. Once you get, so this me trying to add some more honey to it or whatever, because like I said, I want as much honey as I can, and I don't know how I messed up not having enough honey, because I keep honey in my house. But anyway, You want to go ahead and get that sauce stirred up, get a nice little mixture going. You don't want to see anything. Once you know that it's mixed up real good, you won't be able to tell the difference between the honey, the soy sauce, the barbecue sauce. That's how you know you have a nice little mixture going on. By now, your olive oil and your garlic should be kind of simmered up a little bit. So you go ahead and you add that sauce. Once you add that sauce, you want to let it simmer some more. Get a little warm. It don't have to get too hot because you're going to transfer over to the crock pot soon anyway. So just get it nice and whipped up. Get that garlic mixed with that sauce so we can add it to our crock pot. I added a little more barbecue sauce because, like I said, that's going to be your most overpowering flavor. You see those little bubbles? That's how you know it's ready to go. So we're going to pour our sauce over into those ribs, and y'all trust me, this is going to be so freaking good. These ribs are going to be falling off the bone. If you don't believe me, make sure you keep watching this video and you're going to see you will not be disappointed. So you want your sauce to cover your ribs. Because they didn't cover them, I went ahead and just added a little more water, and a little more water don't hurt. I used my barbecue sauce bottle just because it makes sure you get all that sauce that was left over. And most people know that, like, once you get to the bottom of the sauce, then you shake that thing up with water and add some more. I added my fresh cilantro to the crock pot, threw my onions over in there. You want to get it mixed in a little bit. You don't have to do too much with that, just because once it start going, all that stuff is going to mesh together and do what it got to do, boo. Go ahead and cover that. We're going to leave our crock pot covered for about 6 hours. Don't take the top off. Leave the top there and let it cook, okay? Boom, now it's time for the baked beans. The ingredients for the baked beans is also included in the description below. So to get started with our baked beans, we're going to use a half of onion and a half of a bell pepper. You don't need like a whole bunch of onions and bell peppers for your baked beans, just because you eat beans, you're not eating vegetables, but you still want to have a nice amount just because it give it a good little amount of flavor. You want to get those vegetables cut up into little squares. You don't want big chunks of vegetables. I hate big chunks of onions and bell pepper in my baked beans, but I can't have baked beans without them. I usually also include meat in my baked beans, but I didn't do that this time just because I didn't feel like it was appropriate for the meal. For your baked beans, I use regular bush baked beans, but you can use different kind. I don't think it's necessary to use all those different flavors of baked beans just because you're going to add so much flavor to it yourself. You don't need them to pre-do your flavor for you. Once you get those bell peppers and onions mixed in, I'm going to use some of the leftover seasoning that I had from my ribs. I'm also going to go ahead and add my brown sugar. I'm going to get that worked in, and then after that, I'm going to add my wet ingredients. For my wet ingredients, I went and got me some more honey, so I'm going to add some honey to my baked beans. I'm also going to add some maple. I love maple just as much I love garlic and onion and honey. After I get that maple added in, you can use it at your discretion, like how much ever you want. For me, I just, do it like I said to the ancestors tell me to stop. Same thing with the barbecue sauce. Everything that we're adding is for flavor, and you see how it just changed the appearance of those baked beans. They went from like light brown and boring to dark brown and fabulous. We're going to add our baked beans to the oven. We're going to cook them on 385 for about 2 hours, or until you realize that everything is melted and caramelized the way it's supposed to be. Next, we're going to move on to our salsa. Just like all the other parts of this meal, I'll include the ingredients in the description down below. For your salsa, you want to go ahead and get you an aluminum pan. I cover mine in foil just because this pan's so old. You add all your vegetables to this pan. That's my other half of that bell pepper. That's also the other half of that onion. I'm also going to use a whole orange pepper, and I'm also going to use a whole yellow pepper. I like using all these peppers just because they add a lot of flavor. I'm eating with kids. If I wasn't necessarily eating with kids, I would use like some more hotter flavored peppers, but I don't want my kids to be mad at me. I used aroma tomatoes just because they're firmer than slicing tomatoes and they're easier to cook with. So I definitely recommend making sure you use the aroma tomatoes. You want to put them in the oven and broil them on high until they get like a little brown charred look to them. Not brown, but like a black charred look to them. I'm going to cut up me some more cilantro because I'm going to add that fresh cilantro to the blender when I get ready to do my salsa or whatever. So now I got my vegetables out the oven. They're nice and charred. I'm going to transfer the hot vegetables. Oh, no, wait. Before I do that, you got to peel the skin off of the tomatoes. The tomato skin is not going to blend well. So make sure you get that skin off. I used my fingers. I probably should have had some gloves on because they was real hot. But, you know, being the savage that I am, just like I was flipping them rib bones, same thing with the tomatoes. Little heat ain't going to bother you. You get all that mixed up in the blender, thrown over into that blender. You want to blend it on medium, like 7 or 8. You can adjust your blend based on the chunkiness or soupiness that you want it. I didn't want mine too soupy or too chunky. That's why I just did it on medium. I went ahead and added those raw vegetables that I did not put in the oven. Those bell pepper, onion, and some more and some cilantro. I'm going to take these limes that I had cut up and I am going to squeeze that lime juice out those limes. I wish I had one of them little things that like squeeze the juice for you, because I'm pretty sure I can get much more juice with that and probably have to use less limes, but you know, I ain't there yet. But I do have my Cash App in the description below, so if you see that I need anything and you want to send it to me, feel free to do so. So anyway, you want to get those limes squeezed, and then you're going to go ahead and blend it again. You're going to blend it really quick because, you know, it already got like a texture to it. You don't want it too soupy, like I said before. So get everything blended on up real quick. You probably go blend it for maybe like 6 seconds, if that long. Transfer your salsa over into a bowl. Make sure you get that bowl covered and refrigerated so it can be nice and cold for when you get ready to eat it with your tacos. So next, our ribs are going to be done. Would you look at that? It looks so good, y'all. So we're going to transfer the ribs from the crock pot to a dish so we can debone it. I drained some of the juice off just because you don't really need the juice at this point. You just want to go ahead and get that meat off that bone, and you see how easy it just falls off. Oh my goodness, y'all, it's gonna be so good. I love cooking meat in the crock pot. Even if you just not like making no tacos or nothing, crock pot ribs is good for like everyday eating. They quick, easy to prepare, and everybody love ribs. Go ahead and get all those bones out. Go through the deboning process. As you're deboning your meat, you want to also go ahead and like chop up your meat a little bit as you're doing that. Well, not a little bit, a lot actually, just because like you want your meat to be shredded, just like how you have shredded chicken, pulled pork, stuff like that. You want the same thing with your ribs. It's not gonna be like as stringy as all those other meats. However, you don't want big chunks. At least I don't anyway. It's up to you how you do your own food, but for me, I like mine to be like a little thinner pieces of meat. Get it all nice chopped up. You're not gonna really need all those juices, but you do want it kind of wet. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to make our tacos. For our tacos, we're actually going to do like a little glaze on top of our tortilla shell. So we're going to start by making that glaze for the tortilla. For the glaze, we're going to use the maple syrup. We're going to use like 3/4 cup of that. I use so much maple just because like I want it to be kind of sticky or whatever. I love that sticky sweetness. I keep on saying that. I can't reiterate enough. Sticky, sweet, garlic, onion. That's me. Next, we're going to use our honey. I'm going to use like 1/2 cup of honey. Like I said, for that sticky stuff. After we do our honey, we're going to get that poured over in there. I always use like Kroger brand, mostly everything for the most part. Pour that honey over in there so we can get that going. After the honey, we're going to use our barbecue sauce. This is the same barbecue sauce that I've been using throughout this video. Charred ends. They also come from Kroger. Kroger probably need to give me an endorsement, honey. See if I can be a brand ambassador or something using all the ingredients in my food. Anyway, go ahead and get that whipped on up. The same pan that I had used to broil my vegetables in, that's the same pan I'm gonna use for my tortilla wraps, just because like it's an old pan, but you just replace a piece of aluminum foil, and child, you can use that pan for everything. So get that all mixed up. Next, what we're going to do is we are actually going to we're going to oil our aluminum foil that we go put the tortilla wraps on. So, yeah, get that whipped up. Okay, so now to get ready to do our tortilla shells. I used so to oil the pan, I'm gonna use the olive oil. You don't need much olive oil. You just pretty much want to get the pan like nice and greasy. I'm going to use like this little paintbrush looking thing to spread the olive oil around, just so I can make sure I get it nice and even, because I'm not trying to fry my shell. I'm just trying to make sure that it does not stick to the pan when I get ready to pick it up. Aluminum foil supposed to be non-stick, but you know sometimes stuff be sticking to it, so I wouldn't try it. I'm gonna probably use about 12 tortilla wraps when I make this, so make sure your pan is long enough to accommodate how many ever tacos you making or whatever. So with that little mixture that we had made, I'm going to use that same paintbrush that I used to spread the olive oil with to coat my sauce on my tortilla wrap. I want to get it nice and lathered up for the tortilla. Cover the entire thing, just because, like I said, you're trying to give it all the flavor that you can, so you don't want to miss a spot. Cover that whole thing. Fold it in half, and make sure you fold it in half with the sticky side facing outwards. Once you get all those coated and folded, you're going to go ahead and you're going to add your cheese. Okay, so for the cheese, I really wanted to use Monterey and mozzarella, but I didn't prepare properly when I went to the grocery store, so I ended up using the cheese that I used, which was some Mexican cheese and like a cheddar cheese mix or whatever. It's cool, but I would have preferred to use the Monterey and mozzarella, just because it gives it like that cheesy cheese that it just would have been a much cheesier cheese. I was satisfied with this cheese because, you know, some people could say cheese is cheese. However, if I could do it again, this is not the kind of cheese that I would use. Anyway, so you want to make sure that you use the cheese on both sides. You want to sprinkle a little cheese and then do your meat, then sprinkle a little more cheese. Once I got all my taco stuff, then I'm going to go ahead and just put some more glaze on the top of those before I stick them in the oven. I'm going to stick them in the oven for probably about 7 minutes on 400. Go ahead, get my baked beans out the oven. You see how good those things look? They gonna taste good too. Boom, there go our tacos. Let's get ready to eat. So we got our rib tacos, some queso, the homemade salsa. We got some oh, you see that salsa? Oh, that salsa looks so good. We got our baked beans. We got some corn on the cob, and we are about to dive in. Yeah. What you want to say? What else you want to say? Wait, is it a taco or quesadilla? I don't freaking know. Yeah, go ahead.
Watching Encanto.
Is it just my house, or does Encanto have your kids in a chokehold too? You don't want no beans, Taylor? Okay. It's kind of like a taco. Yeah, something like that.
You want baked beans? Bring your plate over. good.
I gotta take a shower before I
Why you want us to wait on you then? You ready to eat?
Yeah, I want y'all to eat it while it's fresh. Okay, what you got, Taylor? That's good. Okay. You gonna taste your baked beans too? Good. Okay.
Yeah. What about you, Ivory? I mean, what about you, Reggie? Mommy?
I want you to taste your quesadilla.
Oh.
Or taco, or whatever you want to call it.
Have some cheese.
That's good right here.
Okay.
Mommy.
Did you dip it in the queso? I mean the salsa?
I ate it straight right here.
That's homemade salsa. What's up, Sue?
That's good.
It's me, Ivory.
Did you eat a taco? Why?
Because I don't want a taco.
Oh, you look
I'm not loud. It's Taco Tuesday, girl. It's Taco Tuesday. So it's talking about poop. It's Taco Tuesday. That's Taco Tuesday. What's this?
It was good. It was good.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you decide to make this recipe, tag me in it on all my socials or whatever socials I got that you use. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Toodles.